Parsha Chayesora, something very nice from the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchok Zatzal. In Parsha, in Medrash Rabbah, this week's Parsha, we have the famous story about the whole marriage of Yitzchok and Rivka, how Avram Avinu sent down Eliezer, and we have the famous saying from Rabbi Acha, Rashi brings it down, Yofos Chosun Shel Botei Obois Shel Abdei Obois Miterosin Shel Bonim. The greater is the stories about the servants of the Obois than the Torah that the Hashem gave the children. And Rabbi Acha explains over here the story about the whole Shidduch of Yitzchok and Rivka repeats itself, number one, and the Medrash writes it's 2-3 columns in the Torah, such a lengthy describing everything, lengthy discussion. And there are other laws in the Torah, how Hashem uses one letter to teach us the law. And Rabbi Acha gives an example. In Parshas Shmini, it speaks about all the laws of impurity. Simple example, if an animal, a cow, a horse, dies, and somebody touches the carcass, the animal, dead animal, a person becomes impure. You're not allowed to go into the holy temple, into the Beis Hamikdash, for 24 hours. You have to go to the mikveh. Then the Torah continues. V'zeh lechem hatomei. And this is the tomei. Another example, the Torah says, the shmoina shirotzim, 8 creeping creatures, the weasel, the lizard, the molar, the rat, as it describes of the 8, known as the shmoina shirotzim. Rabbi Acha says, there's an extra vov and an extra hey over here. It says, v'zelachem hatomei, and these are the impure creatures. Why didn't it say just zeh lechem tamei? These are impure, the 8 creeping creatures. Why is the vav hey added of it? Vi zeh lechem hatamei. Comes to add you something. Everyone who learns Rambam knows this. That by these 8 shrotzim, by these 8 creeping creatures, not only if you touch the body of a dead creature do you become impure, also if you touch their blood. If I have a cow and it's dead and there's a puddle of blood next to it and I touch the blood, you don't become impure. Only if you touch the actual animal. But by these 8, the extra vov and the extra 8 teaches you that even if you touch the blood of the animal, you become impure. Whether you touch the body, the dead body, or you touch the blood. So this Rabbi Acha says, wow, look over here, the story of the Shidduch of with Eliezer. He was so involved, he was from the servants of the Obois. 2-3 columns, and the din of Shmoyne Shrotzim, only 1 vav and 1 hey. Asks Rebbe Yitzchok over here a couple of questions. And there's no other Mefarish who explains this matter so beautiful. First of all, from all the laws of the Torah, Rabbi Acha only found Shmoyne Shrotzim, about the 8 Shrotzim. There's many laws in the whole Shas and Medrash where you learn one law from a Yud or from an extra letter. Why did he pick specifically to tell you that by other laws, other dinim, Hashem hinted everything just in 1 or 2 letters about the Shmoyne Shrotzim? What connection does that have to do with the whole story of Eliezer? Another thing, what's actually the explanation? Why did the Torah write such a lengthy story over here about Eliezer, about the Yitzchok and Rivka, and over there only 1 or 2 letters? Why? Comes Rebbe Yitzchok and explain something very beautiful. If you look in the end of Vayera, it says the lineage of Rivka. It says like this. Avram Avinu had a brother called Nochar. Nochar had a wife called Milcah. This Milcah had 8 children. The 8 children, the Torah says exactly who they were. It says, Es Utzbechoiroi, Buz, Kemuel, Kesed, Chazoi, Ves Pildosh, Ves Yidlo, Ve'es Pesuel. And then it says the next pasuk, Upsuel Yolel Ves Rivka. Psuel had Rivka. Shmoine Eile Yolda Milka. These are the 8 that Milka had. And Rashi explains, all these psukim are to tell you the lineage of Rivka. Forshim ask a very simple question. Why couldn't they just say in short, Nocher's wife was Milka, Milka had Psuel, and Psuel had Rivka? Why didn't they tell me all the uncles of who the uncles of Rivka was, that this Milka had 8 children? Why is that important to know? The most important question is, the Torah finishes off, Shmoine Eile Yolda Milka. These 8 Milka had. Now, who can't count? Why does the Torah have to tell me that there are 8 over here? Shmoine Eile Yolda Milka. Like the Gemara has a famous expression in the questions, Minyon Elamali. What if you give me a number? Who can't count? It was 8. Hey, says Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, all these questions bothered Rabbi. And he answered so beautifully. He said like this, the Torah emphasizes Shmoine Eile. These 8, Milka had specifically 8 children. These 8 were all the uncles of Rivka, and they lived in Choron. And these 8, as I'll soon explain, correspond to the 8 Sheratzim. These were all impure like the Sheretz, like the Sheratzim, like these creeping creatures. Rabbi Yitzchok explains, if you read in the words good, he says over there, Vidal, look into it good. There's a body and then there is the nefesh. A dead carcass from other animals, only if you touch the body, but not the blood. The blood, as it says in Tanya, symbolizes the nefesh, symbolizes the energy, the power of the soul, the animalistic soul. But that's the energy a person has, or the animal has. Here, the Torah is saying by a sheret something very interesting. Not only if you touch the body is it impure, also if you touch the blood. The blood shows on the spirit and the energy that's inside. These Shmeine Shvatzim were impure inside and outside. Now comes Rabbi Levi and says so beautiful. Look, in this week's Parsha it says, Rivka was so modest. She was so pure inside and outside. Nobody touched her and behaved with her in an immodest way. It says in the pasuk, Bisula, she was a psula, v'ish lo yido'ah, and no man ever had anything to do with her. And Rashi explains that in that community, in that environment, young girls would behave immodestly with other men. But Rivka was pure in all ways, in her entire body. And now you'll understand what Rabbi Yitzchok says. The Torah is emphasizing Shmoine Eila, these 8 uncles, the environment where Rivka was brought up, they correspond to the Shmoine Shvatzim. And the Shmoine Shvatzim were impure inside and outside to show that they were Shetufi Zimo. They had this total improper, modest behavior. But Rivka was pure. She was Tahirahi. She was holy and pure. And now you'll understand all these answers. Comes Racha and says, yes, why does the Torah write such a lengthy story about Rivka and the whole Shidduch of Eliezer? To tell you, Hashem wants to say, give a look at this Rivka. She's an example for every Jewish girl how to be modest. She was brought up in such an atmosphere of improper, immoral way of living, and still in all, she stood out in a shining way that she kept herself pure and modest. And this is what the Torah wants to tell us. Yofosi choson shel avdei yovois. The Torah wants to say it's important for us to emphasize the story of Rivka and Eliezer, the whole shidduch. Look at this wonderful girl, more than the laws of Shmoine Shvatzim about all her uncles who were compared to the 8. And that's what the Torah tells us who the uncles were and emphasizes it was Shmoine. Over there, the Torah says, oh, it's enough for me to add a vov and a hey. But where do I want to speak about in length? I want to talk about Rivka to tell you what kind of holy girl this was. And she's from the matriarchs, teaches every girl how to be tznius, how to be modest. This is what Yofa Sichoson is. And just to conclude, Sichoson, says the Rebbe's father, is the root of the word is siach, talking, describing, telling a story. Siach adds up to 318, and that's the same gematria as Eliezer. So Yofa Sichos, the story of Eliezer, Sichos on Siach, story of Rivka, so beautiful, and that's for Yofa to tell you she didn't learn from those Shmoina, her uncles, compared to the Shmoina Shvatzim, and that's where Rabbi picked specifically the Shmoina Shvatzim to tell you this beautiful explanation of the Medrash.